Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming back for part 3 of the Charting the Course series. This one is called Cruise Control. You'll find out in a minute. Just a quick recap from last week. We went over the SMART goals. It's just one of the systems that I think is helpful in charting the course and being specific about your goals. It's a good little system that will kind of help you keep on track. And it's just a good way to help manage what it is you want to achieve. So I'll do a quick recap on that and we'll jump into this week's cruise control. So the SMART goals is just an acronym. It's a system basically in which you create goals. The acronym starts with an S, meaning specific. Basically, the gist of this category is anytime you set out to achieve anything, you want to be specific. We talked about visualizing. We talked about using your 5 senses to describe what this thing is actually going to look like at the end. And the more you visualize this thing, the better chance it is that it's going to stick with you and that it's going to manifest in your everyday decisions. The second letter was M. M stands for measurable. So every goal that you have should be measurable. You should be able to track your progress. You should define exactly what it is that success looks like for you. And I think it should also be broken down into many smaller parts that you can actually achieve on a day-to-day basis. I think that if you have a goal that it's a 10-year plan, but if you can't break it down into a simple task today, then it gets really difficult to align that goal with the action of your hands. So, and also just a great tip for making a goal measurable. If you celebrate every little milestone, I promise you, it will be a much more enjoyable experience. The third letter is A, achievable. You want to be realistic. If your goal is unrealistic with the team that you have, then maybe before you set out on your course, you would actually probably need to get some other things in place. Do you need are there pieces of the puzzle that are missing? Is it just not good for this season in your life? There's a lot of different things we could talk about in this subject, but just as a wrap up, is this thing actually able to be completed in this season of time with the current team that you have and with the current skills and resources that you have? The fourth letter in the SMART goals was relevant. We talked about vision alignment here. If this is not aligning with the overall goal that you have for your life, if this is not relevant to this season of life that you're in, it's going to be really difficult to make the connection. And we talked about, that old saying, without vision, people perish. And to me, vision is starting at 10 with being specific and then working your way back down one step at a time, all the way down to what you do next. So if there's not a connection all the way through, you don't have vision alignment and it's really difficult to know where to start. It's really difficult to be motivated if you don't have vision alignment. So the fifth letter is time bound. I'm a firm believer that a goal is not a goal if it doesn't have times set to it. You can talk about it all you want, but until there's an actual deadline, it's not really a goal. It's just a dream. And way too many people get stuck in just dreamland, and they never actually set realistic goals that they can make. So that's just one system. It's one of many tools that are out there that you can use to create goals. Another system that I'd suggest you guys check out is Brian Kelsey's Brave Goals. A lot of you guys know Brian Kelsey. He was on this Zoom call for the longest time. But his Brave Goals, it not only focuses on creating the goal itself, but it also breaks down how to deal with personal obstacles that are holding you back. as well as the mindset change that needs to happen for you to achieve the goal. You can find the information for Brave Goals at bravegoals.com. And also make sure you guys go back and listen to last week's call about the SMART goals at SeeSummitSolutions.com. And you can read the footnotes in our Seafarers Journal blog, and you can catch it on our YouTube page by searching C plus the plus symbol Summit. So jumping into this week, we're talking about cruise control. So and you guys, anyone who's been on this call before, you know I'm all about systems. We talk a lot about systems. It's one of the most popular buzzwords when you're talking about business startups or business development. And it's actually for a good reason. If you don't have efficient business systems, you're always going to be chasing fires. You're always going to be working for less than you're worth. You're going to be leading others into the same stressful mess that you're living in. And systems are extremely important. I don't have to sell you guys on it. We talk about it all the time. But not all systems are created equal. And sometimes it can actually be hard to recognize when a system needs adjusting or completely just thrown away or restructured. Some of the best systems are those that people follow without even questioning it or realizing that they're following it. For example, how many of you guys have ever been to IKEA? IKEA, they are systems masters. I love going in there, and I've literally gone in there in scheduled meetings just to take notes on how efficient their processes are. When you first walk into IKEA, they don't walk you through the store. They don't do this. They take you immediately up to all the snacks. They take you immediately upstairs. They don't even start you downstairs. They start you upstairs. You have to go upstairs to get to the rest of the store. They know what they're doing. You get up there, you get all the snacks, the stuff that makes you feel really good in their cafeteria, and then they start you on a journey. And it seems like a maze, but it's going from one beautiful room to the next beautiful room. And what they're doing is they're actually selling you products, and they're selling a lifestyle. They're doing all of this without anyone standing there telling you where to go. And everyone follows just the same. Everyone just keeps moving and moving and moving in this exact same direction. They don't have to put a sign saying go here. You naturally do this. It's a system that was created. It was strategic. It creates efficiency. It cuts down on overhead, and it leads to more profit. It's automatic, and no one even questions it, but everyone benefits from it, especially IKEA. But if we were able to create these types of systems within our business, things that, it can be done through communication or signs or mazes or processes, we can begin to automate our own businesses, by taking the time to create these systems and working on our business and not for our business. So when I first started learning about systems, again, I'll throw Brian Kelsey out here. He was one of the first people who talked to me about it. It was a real catalyst moment for me. It was a simple concept that had been missing from my entire life. It was like this light switch was flipped on, and I could finally see why I had struggled to lead people and achieve my own personal goals. So I was sold on it from the start. I jumped in head first and into the concept of working on my business and creating systems and automating the process. And really what a system does is it plows the way for other people to come in and benefit from what it is you've accomplished. And it allows them to also take it further than what you can personally do yourself. So it's more than a set of rules or a discipline. It's a way of life. It's a mindset change that will inevitably affect every area of your life for the better. So with that being said, we talk a lot about our systems. I've sent hundreds of pages to a lot of you guys of my personal systems as an example of something you can follow within your business. But today I just want to break it down a little bit and say, what exactly is a system? And it sounds like it's this mystical thing that only really smart people with PhDs and MBAs know how to deal with, but really all it is, simply put, is it is a defined plan, design, or process to achieve a goal. It should be communicated properly, whether that's written or verbal, and you should have a means of tracking the progress along the way. A good system is like setting cruise control on your business. You still need to watch where you're going. You need to track it and keep track of your progress, but it definitely makes life easier and it frees you up to do other things. So you can create a system for anything, but in business, there's three main areas that I believe that you should have a defined plan before you ever set out on the journey. The first area that I believe that you should have a defined plan for is you should have a system for your relationships. For so many reasons, here at Sea+Summit, we do our best to focus on relationships over projects. I don't need to sell you guys on that. You guys understand the benefit of that. But even though most people would agree that relationships are the most important asset that we could ever have, very rarely do people actually make a plan for those relationships. A lot of times people get married and they don't even know where they want to be in 5 years or 10 years. All they know is, I just want to do it with you. And they get caught up in that stuff. And then a lot of times people end up getting divorced, or they end up they struggle in their marriage because they didn't actually set a plan out for what their life should look like. And they both had very different expectations of what it should look like. So too often, I see individuals hold others to standards that they've actually never properly communicated. If you don't communicate something to somebody, you can't actually hold them accountable to it. It's not their fault if they don't know. For example, for some reason, it seems to be perfectly acceptable for electricians. Here we are, contractors. Not everyone's a contractor here, but it seems perfectly acceptable for electricians to not clean up after themselves. I don't know who created that rule, but now it's turned into a system that is perfectly acceptable, and every general contractor knows that the electricians are probably not going to clean up after themselves. So unless you properly communicate your definition of what a job well done looks like, it may not be the same definition as somebody else. In business and in personal relationships, it would serve you well to get in the habit of defining the terms and the boundaries of the relationship. We have our professional standards agreement. It's not a legally binding contract, but anyone who's going to do business with us, we send this out to them, and it defines the terms of our relationship so that we know that if they cross this line, it affects the relationship. And there's a lot of room to make mistakes because we don't all operate in the same way, but we like to define this up front so that people aren't offended later when we try and hold somebody accountable, or they cross the line. We say, hey, this isn't cool with us, So for another example, if my wife does not know that showing up even 1 minute late bothers me, which it does. You guys know how I am. If you show up 1 minute late, it bothers me. Not for everybody, but for me, if I show up 1 minute late. So if she doesn't know that, I can't hold her accountable to protect that. However, when I tell her over and over and over again, the ball is now in her court to protect the relationship. If you don't have a system for your relationships, if you don't have a plan for your relationships, then you're the only one protecting that relationship. And you're the only one protecting your standards. You're the only one protecting your boundaries. And it's just, relationships should be two-way streets. If they're not mutually beneficial, if they can't define their terms and you can't define your terms, I promise you it's going to lead to frustration. The second part, this is really the part that people spend the most time on when they think about systems. That's managing people and projects. It always gets the most attention because everyone, when they think about work or business, that's really all they think about. We got to manage people, we got to manage products, we got to manage the project, and we have to protect profitability. However, I'm not going to dive a lot into this one. You guys have access to any of my systems that I have. You guys can search those things out, and there is a ton of information out there to automate and systematically approach managing people and projects. And it's so diverse because there's not a one size fits all plan that works in every situation. What works for me in the exact same business may not work for Luis or Johnny. We have a different way that we approach things. I think that we can learn from each other, but I might make a plan for one person and it just doesn't match the skill set and strengths of another person. So you got to be adjustable. You got to constantly be a student of your business, be a student of other successful people, and be diligent to work on your systems. This can look like a lot of things, like defining the expectations in a relationship, having a planned out system, a written down system for training, a process for human resources to follow, a defined plan for advancement opportunities, a bidding process, tracking money, literally anything can have a system to it. I'm a big believer that if you don't have the system, then you shouldn't actually be out there trying to put people into the system. If you don't have a system for your projects to be managed, then you probably shouldn't be putting people into a lack of system, because no system is just a bad system. So the main goal here on managing people and projects is go out and find who's doing what. There's a million different things in everybody's preferred fields, and everything can be done differently. And what works for me may not work for you. But before you set out to actually do the job, before you set out to make a bid, before you do whatever it is you're going to do, define what the course looks like, create boundaries on it, create an actual path for you to follow and for others to follow, or else it's just going to be a crazy mess. The third thing that I think that you should have a system for in business is you need a system for money. I mean, it sounds silly, but you have no idea how many business owners who are just like, if I do the work, then the money will come. Well, that's not the case. You have to understand what is what's good in the market. You have to understand how much it costs you to do things. You have to know what your worth is, and you have to communicate that worth to somebody else with the understanding that they may or may not share the same value for your time and your efforts. Another thing is that I've seen is a lot of people, they like to put all of their money into one account. That is a terrible plan. It is a terrible way to track things. You cannot track things that are all ran out of one account. If you pay yourself, you can pay yourself out of the business account, but it should go into a personal account. I really think that if this is not your strong suit, that you should 100% use an accountant. There are plenty of great people out there that you should delegate the things that you're not strong at to. For me, it's one of those things where I'm not strong at tracking it, so I delegate that out. I can help create the systems. I can tell them how I want it to be tracked. However, I'm not the person who's going to take care of that. I delegate all of that out. If you're good at running a business and managing people and projects and protecting relationships, those kind of people aren't always the people who are the best suited and wired for tracking money. You tend to kind of be, type A or type B with that, but you should have a plan for your money. You should know how to communicate what you're worth. You should understand profit and loss and plan accordingly. So many times I've seen guys, they come in and it works really great for them to charge X amount of dollars at this level in their business. And then they grow and they have 3-4 employees, and they have overhead, and now their monthly costs went from, just cutting themselves a check out of one account to now they're cutting themselves a little tiny check because they're losing money on their 10 new employees because they've got to pay health insurance, they got to pay workman's comp. There's a lot that goes into it. I definitely suggest that you have a system to follow. and understand where your money is going, how much your time is worth, how much your skills are worth, and then putting that into a plan and a system so that your business can be profitable. I think you need to set money aside to grow your business. And I think most importantly, I think you need to track everything. Track your material cost, track your labor cost, track the progress of each individual and team. And you should know what the price is per individual, or what your profit is per individual employee that you have. So definitely get a system and a plan. What do you want to do with where, what are you going to do to put your money to work for your company and for your other investments? We do this because our business, although we may love it and enjoy it, it's a means to an end. And we will never get to that end. We'll never get to the destination if we don't have a plan for our money. So I'm going to jump into just real quick 5 tips, really quick, on how to approach creating business systems. First one, does it meet somebody's needs? That's the biggest question. You need to create a system around meeting other people's needs. That's what a business owner does. The second one is really very similar. However, it can apply in different situations. Does it solve a problem? Are you creating, or there's a problem that exists, whether within your system or for a customer, and are you creating a system to solve that problem? With us in our FIRE plan, which is really important part of our culture, and just another system is really all it is if there's a fire and then we need unnecessary resources to put that fire out, we now need to put a system in place to make sure that that problem is solved and it never happens again. The number 3 is a system should give guidance. If it's not helping guide people along the way, then it probably needs to be adjusted or specifically defined. A system is written communication that can actually manage you and your jobs along the way. And it can manage your people when you're not there. If you have really good written communication and you're great at protecting these systems, then your system will actually give guidance to people along the way and automate the process so that you don't have to be there 24/7. Number 4, a system should protect boundaries. This is a little bit more of a relational thing, but I think that if you don't define what the relationship is, what the terms are of that relationship, or if you don't define your expectations and somebody crosses over that line, then it's really your fault for not expressing it and communicating it clearly. If you go to the Grand Canyon, there's a big fence. In a sense, it's a system. There's signs that say, don't go beyond this point. Why? Because there's a boundary there and it's dangerous if you cross over that boundary. And people lose their lives for not protecting that particular boundary. Number 5 is learn from others. There are systems for everything. And I almost was going to put on here steal from others because, but that's, kind of an ethical issue there. But go out. People have systems. There are very, very successful and efficient business systems that other people created that you can go out and copy. There's not copyrights on most of it. For me, on a lot of my stuff, I'm constantly looking at other people's systems. I love how Aldi's does their stuff. Like Aldi's is super efficient. They can run a store with like 3 people and they can rival the prices of all the big box stores out there, even though they're a much smaller chain. And they don't even pay someone to go and clean up carts because they give ownership to somebody else. They allow you, this is, if you think about it this way, they literally allow you to pay for something, meaning your cart, And then they don't have to go and clean up all those carts after that, because you have an investment and you get that thing back, even though it's 25 cents. It's only 25 cents. It's planned out that way, because if you go to an Aldi's parking lot, I guarantee you there are not carts everywhere. But when you go to Walmart, who offers that service for free, there are carts everywhere. There's always a cart kid running around out there who's way underpaid and hitting people's cars. And if you can imagine what they're saving in, I mean, I would put money on it across the United States. They are probably, all these probably saving hundreds of thousands of dollars between wages and also like those carts, when they get banged up, you got to replace them. That's not happening at all these, you know. They have an incredible system. Just by giving somebody a little bit of ownership, you pay to basically use their cart, you get that money back. And people do it all day long. It's a thing. They love it. You know, you've seen those little keychains. They put a quarter there. There's always a quarter in every vehicle that I drive, just so I can go to Aldi's. And, you know, if I go there without a quarter, man, it's a bad day. So that's one of my favorite systems, but it's something I can learn from as well, you know, just from the principles. And I'm constantly stealing these things from everybody else. So this week's challenge is, I want you guys to reply to me with an email of a system that you've seen that is efficient, or a system that you have within your business that you see probably needs to be restructured or adjusted. And we'll open it up real quick for probably about the next 2 minutes. Does anyone have like a system that they've noticed that they really appreciate, or maybe some of them even really get on the nerves because of a lack of a system? Can anyone tell me a situation where a system has either impressed you or lack of system has frustrated you?
Well, you know, when I first started, like you said, it's horrible idea is all my money was in one. It was a business account, but all my money, all my payroll, all my materials were in one account. And when it came to do the books and separate things out, literally had to like spend hours going through every single transaction over the last year to figure out, oh, this was for material, this was for this was for that. And I had to separate it all. And I was like, I cannot do this again. So right after that, like I set up multiple accounts so that doesn't happen. So I was, you know, I'm glad I figured that out, because it would be definitely a time saver and just less stressful with that.
Yeah, that's all. Does anyone else have an example of a system? It's all right. So I appreciate everyone for jumping on here. There are all kinds of systems all around us. I suggest you go to Aldi's and you take note of some of their other systems. They don't even take things out of the box. They create their boxes so that they don't have to pay someone extra money to stock their shelves. And again, just like IKEA, you go up one aisle, down the other. They run you by every one of their products so that they can maximize profitability. And even just down to the way their signs, you know, display their prices and things like that. Also, I suggest going to IKEA. Once your eyes are open to this and you change the way that you think, you'll begin to see your business in a new light. You'll be able to automate these things, and your business will begin to work for you. And there is nothing more freeing than doing the same job you did a year ago, much more efficiently, and you're actually getting to enjoy the profits of it. You're actually getting to enjoy the fruits of your labor by putting all those systems in place. And whereas last year you were just chasing down fires, you were just, you know, stressed out trying to figure out how to make this happen. I have one announcement for everyone on here. We are going to be changing the structure of this of the Everest Zoom call. Instead of having a weekly Zoom call, I know it's really difficult for all you guys as business owners to jump on here. And I appreciate everyone who's taken the time out of your week to make it to these Zoom calls and contribute to them. We're going to be moving it to more of a podcast style where we record it ahead of time so that you can listen to it at any time. We will still do some of these Zoom calls, but they're going to be a little bit more defined, and we'll probably not do them more than once a month. We'll send you out the information if you guys want to be a part of that, and we'll make sure that if it is going to take up any of your time during the week, that we're going to bring the most important content to you. We're going to give you the most information so that it is absolutely worth taking 30 minutes of your time through the week. Again, I appreciate everyone who stuck with us and showing up and investing into growing with us. And I really look forward to connecting with everybody in the future and seeing how this stuff is helping out. Go to SeaSummitSolutions.com to check out all of our previous videos. Also, check out our footnotes of all these calls on the Seafarer's Journal on our website, and also go to our YouTube channel, which is Sea+Summit. Just go ahead and search that in YouTube, and you'll find all the rest of our videos. Thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.